gentlemen, it is going to be session of educative learning, session after session after session. You are going to feed your mind so much, as I promised yesterday, that at the end of today's session, I can promise you that you would know how to fly a plane. We have our first panel discussion, and to helm the affairs of this panel discussion is a man that I really, really look up to a lot in the circles that I've come to know him. He is the lead consultant of SP Minds and founder of Great Age Global, a nonprofit organization that seeks to address the needs of the elderly by harnessing the potential of youth power. For the love that he has for travel and sightseeing, he devotes part of his working time to guide international researchers and tourists who travel to Ghana. He believes that offers first-hand opportunity to hone his storytelling abilities. Evans has been a Toastmaster since 2011, a member of the US Embassy Accra Gladiators Toastmasters Club, which is incidentally how I got to know him in the Toastmasters community. In Toastmaster circles, he is nicknamed the King of Impromptu Speaking. He is a champion of champions in table topics for Region 11, covering Africa, Middle East, and Pakistan. As a public speaker and communications practitioner, Evans has been the master of ceremonies, MC, and moderator for numerous corporate and social events. For instance, he was the host for the press conference organized by the Forum of Ghanaian Elders at the Ghana International Press Center as part of the activities by CSOs in the run-up to Ghana's 2016 parliamentary and presidential elections. Mr. Edu, if you're on the call, please say hi and let us hear your voice.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Edu. Mr. Edu will not be doing this alone. He will be joined by amazing panelists in the person of Mr. Richard Tre, Mr. Kwame Bekwin, Mr. Ahmed Naaman, and Mr. John Kubetezi. I hope I got the name right and I didn't butcher anybody's name. Mr. Richard Tre is the head of commercial, having joined AWA, Africa World Airlines, in December 2015 as the deputy head of commercial. He served in various capacities during his 8-year stint with Amtrak Air, starting as a project safety officer in 2007 and exiting as the head of commercial in 2015. During that period, he gained valuable experience in airline competitive strategies, quality management, marketing, distribution, and airport operations. He is a man of many hats with proven skills in airline management, project management, supply chain and operations management, and contract negotiations. He has an enviable understanding of the West African travel market, knowledge that is priceless in AWA's strategy of regional network expansion. Richard actively shares his expertise through speaking engagement at aviation conferences and travel market forums around the continent. Mr. Tre holds 2 IATA diplomas in airline management and airline revenue accounting and controls, an MBA in project management from GIMPA, ICM UK diplomas in human resource management and financial management, and alumni of Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. He is a certified member of the Project Management Institute, PMI, in USA. Mr. Tre, if you're online, please say hello and let the panelists and the guests hear your voice. Sir, you are muted. Kindly unmute yourself.
All right, thank you, and have a very good morning.
Good morning to you too. Thank you for being here. Mr. Tre and Mr. Evans Edu will be joined by Mr. Ahmed Naaman, who is a Ghanaian-born entrepreneur that has been active in the tourism industry since 2002. Basically, his years of experience can vote in the upcoming elections, ladies and gentlemen. We are looking at experienced people giving us a wealth of knowledge on the topics that we are about to discuss. He's been participating and impacting on the sector and its various and integrated areas. He is an award-winning personality. He has awards in the Tourism Hall of Fame, Lifetime Achievement. He has won the Personality for Tourism Development and Promotion, both regional and national. He's a marketing director of a multi-regional and national awards-winning company, Dodi Travel and Tours, with its operations hub in Kumasi, Ghana. He's been awarded the Best Travel Agency, Best Tour Operator, Top Africa Travel 100 Tour Operators in 2018, Best Car Rental Services. He's gotten the Hotel of the Year. Mr. Ahmed has served tourism bodies and associates over the years in the capacity of a chairperson. He served in Ghana Association of Travel and Tourist Agents, GATA, and he has the car rental companies of Ghana, Ghana Tourism Federation. He's the immediate past chair, currently appointed as the Ashanti Regional Patron of the Federation. Mr. Ahmed, sir, if you're on the call, please say hello and let us hear your voice.
Yes, good morning to you, Pakwesi, and to your honorable members. I'm very pleased to be with you this morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Last is Mr. John Kubetezi. Mr. John Kubetezi is the CEO of Afrimuda Foundation. He's a Department of Music and Dance, UCC. He's a part-time lecturer at the Department of Music and Dance in UCT. He is a guest teacher in Denmark Norfolk University and choreographer and dance instructor. Sir, if you're on the call, please say hello and let us hear your voice.
Hello to everyone. I'm so grateful to be a part of this discussion.
Thank you very much. The panel is on the topic aviation and tourism, local benefits before borders. Aviation and tourism, local benefits before borders.
Mr. MC, I beg your pardon.
Yourself and your panelists, you have the con. Take it away and educate us.
Well, very well. We're supposed to have the final panelist in the person of Mr. Kwame Bequin.
Yes,
very good.
He's online. He's online, please.
Hello, hello, team. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, Kwame, we can hear you.
Excellent. Hi, thank you very much. Appreciate it for this opportunity. Thanks.
Pakwesi,
Kwame Beck. Yes. Mr. Kwame Bequin.
The aviator, please.
Yes, the aviator. He is a passionate aviator at heart with a demonstrated track record in aviation and aerospace. Over his career in Airbus and General Electric, Kwame has received recognition by cleaning the touted MIPAD 100 Award, Image 40 Under 40 Leader Award for Aviation in Ghana, citation for delivering talks across universities, and recognition from the Royal Aeronautical Engineering Society for his contribution. An inspirational leader, he is determined to make an impact and contribute to the evolution of the sector with a heart for technology, which has the potential to promote transformative and socio-economic development. Mr. Kwame Bequin, myriad of apologies for skipping over. I would have deprived our ladies and gentlemen and our guests of the wealth of knowledge that you bring to the table. I'm sure that listening to you alone will give us the experience to fly a helicopter after the session. Mr. Evans Edujefi, yourself and your panelists, say you have the call, take it away.
Thank you very much, Pakwesi, and it's a great pleasure to be here this morning to lead these honorable men to talk about such an important subject with respect to the aviation and tourism sector. We are going to talk about the local benefit before the closures. In other words, if the borders remain closed, as some are now, how are we going to navigate the terrain for the benefit of the industry players? But before we delve into the details, may I kindly ask all my panelists to unmute their mics, because this is supposed to be a discussion. It's not a question and answer per se. So I'm going to pick thoughts randomly to make it lively and to make it very interesting for the benefit of our listeners and audience. I will start with John. You are joining us from Cape Coast. How is Cape Coast at the moment? Because Cape Coast is the hub of tourism, so far as I know.
Yes, Cape Coast is fine, and the weather today is very friendly. And yeah, I've been indoors till now, just to be part of this discussion before going out. So greetings from Cape Coast to you
Wonderful,
all.
wonderful. Thank you very much. Let me go to Richard.
Hey, great.
It was a pleasure talking to you earlier.
Yeah. And I see your excitement, in your face, and also how bubbling you are becoming this morning. That's good.
Good to have you here.
Great.
My man.
How are you doing, my brother?
How are you?
How are you doing, my brother? Long time.
It's a pleasure. Yes, but today we are catching up. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, you too. Thanks.
Then the main man himself. I call him Chairman Tourism, the man of Kumerica, Mr. Ahmed Naman. How is Kumasi this morning?
Yeah, it's a fine, cool morning here. It's quiet. We're looking forward for the good weekend. We have been missing the Akwasi days for some time now, but we pray and hope that we will go back to it very soon.
Wonderful. Gentlemen, you're most welcome to the Aviator session for this morning. As I did mention in my introduction, we're going to discuss the local benefit, I like to call it within the borders. And you all know very well that the COVID-19 situation, I don't like calling it pandemic, because as it evolves, we get to see the other benefit we could not have seen, but for the COVID that broke out onto our neck recently. So I want us to look at it in that perspective, and I plead with all of you to bring out the best in you and make this discussion a wonderful one. I will start with you, John. Your foundation plays a critical role in contributing to the tourism sector in Ghana as a whole. Can you please tell us what your foundation is about and the significance with respect to the contribution of the creative arts? Let's start from that angle.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, Afrimuda Foundation simply is an acronym of African Music and Dance Foundation. And the foundation was established to bring together the needy youth, and use the music and dance or the performing arts as a basis for bringing them to light, if you like. Because as we are aware here in Ghana, there are so many things that happen, and we kind of neglect some of these people, that the needy ones in society. So right. as a performing artist, I was thinking of how I could use my expertise, to kind of salvage the situation where we have a number of youth moving from one place to the other, especially around the castles and the beaches, asking tourists who converge there for money to buy food and other things. So I thought it would be a good idea to have something to do with them. And by so doing, you are able to empower them, to let them realize their potentials and have self-confidence and be able to contribute meaningfully towards society building. So that's what we have been doing basically. And we are using the music and dance. And when you talk about music and dance, people probably think that it's just about playing music and dancing for your audiences. But it goes beyond that, because we use that as a tool of education. For example, where there is but let's take COVID-19 as an example. You know, this is a pandemic that you don't want us to continue to call it pandemic, but it has been a crisis. And this crisis affects the whole world. So how do we manage that crisis? How do people get educated to understand the fact that this is nothing to joke about with? Let's take Ghana, for example. I don't know much about Accra, but here in Cape Coast and other places I have visited before, you realize that people mingle up with others without the use of the nose mask. And they do everything. They seem to have forgotten that the COVID is still around
here
the corner.
with us. Very well.
Yeah.
Very well. Thank you very much.
So in a situation like that, before I land, please, in a situation like this, we as performing arts organizations use the opportunity to, you know, put ideas together in a form of a performance and then put it out there to educate the public that, in fact, there is the need to be very cautious about how we do things in this era, you know. So we use the arts in educating and not only for entertainment purposes.
Wonderful. We use the arts in education and not just entertaining or for entertaining purposes. That's insightful, John. Richard.
Yes, sir.
Let me make this quite personal. The land border is still closed, or the borders are still closed officially. Partly, the sea is also not fully open, the sea borders. It's only the air that is open. How does that affect you personally?
Well, thank you very much. I think I'll take it from two perspectives. Tourism and aviation is interoperable. You cannot separate them. And that is something key that we need to look at. According to IATA, globally, tourist arrivals constitute close to 57%. And in our region or continent, as in Africa, it even goes more than that, close to 81%. So if you don't have airlines flying into your country, then you are doing yourself a very big disservice. And this makes it very important to have airlines running into countries which will eventually boost the economy and also the GDP is critical. Now, what we need to look at is the accessibility of all these tourist sites, and again, how accessible these sites are. So we are in pandemic, we are unable to look at the so-called tourist places that, traditionally we will go to. Now, I had opportunity to chance on a document at the ministry, and I realized that there are a lot of aerodromes or airstrips in Ghana that we do not even know. Lands has been demarcated for it. These has been assigned. And again, all that we know is Kumasi, Tamale, Takoradi Airport. There are other tourist areas that at the moment, even getting access to the place becomes very difficult. For instance, you may try to go to Wa. I know Wa, we have a hippo sanctuary there. Mm-hmm. The first time I went to Wa was by air to Tamale and road from Tamale to Wa. And that alone, from Tamale to Wa alone is 5 hours. That's even if you have a very good SUV vehicle and you are going at a very good kilometer. From Accra to Wa alone is close to 17 hours. And if all these places, all these sites do not have good access, then how do we develop these sites? How do tourists get access to all these places? So accessibility becomes key. The same document indicates that there are some other few tourist places which airstrips has been demarcated, but today it has been encroached by, it has been encroached and it has been used for houses and stuff. So this makes it very, very difficult. We need to develop the tourist market, not only focusing on that, but making sure we create accessibility to all these places to ensure that we will have access to all these tourist places. It goes on to how, again, these places are also being packaged. So now borders have been locked. Psychologically, all that we know is, oh, when you do this, when it's time for vacation, I'll take you to London, I'll take you to Dubai, I'll take you to US. Culturally, we need to even reorient the minds of our people that internally, there are good tourist places that we can visit. And this is something that holistically, it should be a reorientation in the minds of Ghanaians that enough of the Dubais, enough to the Londons, enough, and we can package what we have locally and we can make it so. When you log on to the internet today, all that you see is fly Dubai at $500, fly to this, and these are locally, the packaging is so attractive that you end up going there. How many times are we, promoting our own, local sites, our own local tourist places? No, so we need to reorient our minds. We need to reorient, our people, and also ensure that the packaging becomes very attractive. Mr. Chum said a lot in terms of cost, collaboration, but I believe after my panelists do speak, I'll come back with a round of how we can do that. Thank you.
Hold your thought as you think through how we can do that, and then I will take the thought of my good friend, Mr. Kwame Bequin. Kwame, you have an intriguing life story. Of course, it's a bit you've made public for which I speak to. Born in the UK, worked or schooled and worked in France, did some work in Dubai, decided to relocate to Ghana, and here we are. You just found yourself locked up within the borders. What do you have to say about this particular situation with respect to what you do as a business person?
Thank you very much, Evans, and thank you to the GH Aviation team for this opportunity. It's really appreciated. So, as you said, I've had the opportunity to work for GECAS, which is actually the world's biggest aircraft lessor, civil aircraft. I've worked for Airbus, the world's largest aircraft manufacturer, all in the context of covering the African region. So, just through this experience, I've been able to visit at least 30 different African countries and just gain a lot of perspective as to, the development, the growth, and the opportunity in the region. And I think just as we've all said, coronavirus has had a huge impact on, global RPKs. The lockdown has really restricted the movement in the region. The impact on aviation has been really drastic. Millions of jobs have been lost, billions of revenue for particularly the airlines and the tourism institutions has been lost. But, I like what you said, Edom, that we shouldn't really look at this as a pandemic, because the fact of the matter is in Africa, African governments, African countries have fared relatively well, I would say, compared to many other regions in the world. In fact, one of the stats I saw very recently is that in Europe, in North America, coronavirus is actually the 5th biggest killer. Whereas here in Africa, it's not even in the top 20 of the biggest killers. So, a lot of the impact we're seeing is indirect impact, and it's unfortunately a case of when the world sneezes, Africa catches a cold, you know?
That's right.
So I believe moving forward, we need to understand Africans and African countries, what we can do to establish an almost like an immunity from external influences. And my personal belief is that that starts with us as individuals and people. And I love the African proverb that says, you know, when there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. And, you know, you rightly mentioned that, you know, I was born in the UK. And one of the things I noticed through my experience of, you know, just growing up in UK, moving back to Ghana, I developed almost like an acquired taste for some particular UK British foods. And, you know, one of them, for example, I'll just give you an example. One of them is British crisps. You know, I really love British crisps. And, you know, during the lockdown, of course, just like everyone, I was unable to travel. And, you know, usually when I would travel, I would bring back these little things that I enjoy eating. So, you know, that sort of forced me to look and venture out for local alternatives. And, you know, I came across this local brand of plantain chips called Sankofa. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of it. You know, very fresh, healthy, natural, no colorings, no artificial flavorings. And I mean, listen, I fell in love with it. And, you know, moving forward, I'm not going to move back to my British crisps anymore. And I think this dynamic can work in many different areas, you know. And I mean, I could say that because I also own a restaurant in Ghana. And, you know, we ceased relying on imports of products which we used to receive pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, to rely on more local products. And, you know, sort of what we noticed that our clientele adapted to the change and now are very used to normal, you know, sort of local cuisine, local spices and foods. And I believe that's one of the big advantages that we will see as individuals in this region from the lockdown and from the fact that the borders are closed. And, you know, I'll just conclude by saying this. In aviation, you know, the barriers to travel right now are very high. You know, since the lockdown, I have had the opportunity to make a few trips. I've been to London, I've been to Paris, I've been to Lagos, and I've been to Tamale. Now, if I was to compare the enjoyableness of the different trips I had as a ratio of the inconvenience, the cost, the number of COVID tests I had to have, you know, for example, to go to Lagos, I had to have 4 COVID tests, one before, one on arrival, one on leaving Lagos, and one on returning. I would say honestly that Tamale wins hands down. And, you know, if we just step back and think about this, a family of 4 based here in Ghana, who would typically on an annual basis go on holiday to Dubai or London, are now faced with this challenge. They now all have to do 4 COVID tests, $600 to go. 4 COVID tests to come back, $600. The cost has significantly gone up. So now the attractiveness of going to a WOW or going to a Tamale or going somewhere else has just shot right up. So now for me, it's really the opportunity for service providers in Ghana to really seize on this opportunity now before that opportunity is lost. So really that's my message to everyone in tourism locally today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for bringing that perspective to bear, that we cannot talk about benefit locally for both the aviation and tourism industry without looking critically at the cost benefit. And that cost, i.e. the cost to the passengers or the client you serve, should be the determinant on what package you want to present to them to have them stay local, because the advantage for local industry players is now anybody who wants to go out there would have to think about the test cost, which gives you an advantage because the person would not want to spend that much, and that gives us some advantage to want to work locally. Now I come to Mr. Naaman, I should say. Accessibility runs through all the submissions that have been made so far. You happen to be in charge or partly in the business of tour or transport operation. Would you want to speak to that? For instance, there's been a proposal by government to site or have an airport at Cape Coast, and the debate has been from different angles. What's your thought on that? In my personal opinion, I thought that will add to the accessibility issue. Richard earlier alluded to that. Look, if every district capital had some sort of support to be able to have at least an airdrome, then we wouldn't have to worry about how to move across the country using aircraft. What's your take on this accessibility and how it can benefit us locally?
Yeah, good morning once again, Mr. Kwesi, Mr. Kwame, sorry. And good morning to my fellow panelists and the participants here. You know, I'm not an aviation expert to speak about opening airports in other cities, though I see it as an added value to every city or every region. If it's a must that we have an airport, it's government's priority. They decide where they want to have an airport and where they see it visible. But I want to refer back to the speech by our brother, Mr. Charles Chung. He nailed every nail on the board. Our problem here is accessibility. It's pricing, the costing. It's our high rates, and then is the sensitization, I can say, and the awareness we must create for domestic tourism. We're speaking about domestic tourism because we have been doing outbound tourism for very long, as our brother Mr. McCoy said. People, the first thing we start to advertise for, we look for the destinations that have easy accessibility in terms of visas, in terms of flights, and in terms of costs. And Dubai has proven that it has solved all these problems. They have a one-stop shop when it comes to a tourism package. I have currently a hotel package in Dubai with tourist activities, 5-star hotel for 4 nights with 3 activities, starting from $199. So you just have to add an airfare of about $600 there, and you are there. $800 you spend 4 nights in Dubai in a 5-star hotel, includes 4 breakfasts and 2 dinners. Now, if I want to leave Kumasi with my family and go to Cape Coast, I will spend that money there in 2 days. It's a higher cost for me. I am not with the view of always blaming the government taxation and the high cost of operation with hotels and other. I've been a hotelier before, and I know how much it costs to run such a facility. I think the solution, we are all speaking about the problem. The solution is within our reach. It is through partnerships. We have to create partnerships between our associations, our store operators and travel agents, and the hotels. What I see here is, as one of our panelists expressed, that when you travel abroad, you stay with the $80, $70 in a 4- or 5-star hotel, whilst when you come to Accra, you have to spend over $200 to stay there. Our associations, we in the tourism industry must create that kind of partnership with the hotels, with the owners of transport. When we hire in a bus, sometimes I need to hire a bus from a colleague car rental company, and the price I get quoted can rent me 2 buses. If I just dash to the main transport station, I pick up a good bus, I make sure that it is properly cleaned and the driver has some orientation, and then I pay half of the price on that. Now, probably this is also true because we don't get support on finances when we are acquiring such means of transport. So we have to go through the banks and pay the very high cost of servicing our loans. We all know loans here are very expensive. So, and that is the only way that you could acquire a fleet if you want to really stay in business and make sure I can say you keep on using state-of-the-art vehicles. So the solution to this, I think, also is through having wholesale tourist companies, wholesale tour operators, which we do not have in Ghana here. When you go to places, I don't want to speak about Dubai. Let's stay in Africa. Speaking about South Africa, Kenya, Rwanda, even Zimbabwe, you have a wholesale tour operator that me being a travel agent or a tour operator can sell 1 or 2 packages to 2 persons. I don't need to put them to have a vehicle to put them on it, to book their tourist attraction, have a staff moving with them. It all costs and make the package pricing very high. So I give them over, I hand them over to the wholesaler. If we have 10 travel agents and everyone is able to get 1 or 2 passengers a day and give them to the wholesaler, you know that the wholesaler is running a scheduled tour every day, and then your cost goes down. We have to look at partnerships through us. We don't have to look at each other as competitors. We are colleagues. We can benefit from each other, and we can make profit from each other, out of each other in a very simple way. So another point I want to hit on is the domestic tourism, how we package our domestic tourism. I don't think we have sound domestic tourism in the country. We have everything. We have it all. Name the waterfalls, name the beaches, name the forest, name culture, name tradition. We have it all. It's just that I think I can see my boss here, Mr. Akwesi Agyeman, the CEO of Ghana Tourism Authority, on the panel. I will plead with him once again to lobby through the Ministry of Education to make us have access to taking kids over all around the country. Our school children need to learn it at school. It must be in their subject. Every kid at school must undertake at least 1 trip per semester to another region. We have people even in Kumasi here who have not, students in Kumasi, sorry, who have not seen the beach, who do not know how an ocean or a shore look like. We need it in our schools. We need our children to grow on it. It's very important. It's very healthy, and it gives them a lot of motivation. When a child prepares every semester to travel to another region, meet new people, meet a different culture. You know, in Ghana, I can say we are a cosmopolitan country because you have a different culture in every region. When the kids travel from one region to another, at least every 3-4 months once, he learns a lot of new things. The exposure gives him a lot of idea. When we travel out of Ghana for some few days and come back, we come back fresh with new ideas. The kids need that. It should start from there. You know, they said charity starts at home. We must start it with our kids from schools. This is my plea to the Ministry of Tourism and the Ghana Tourism Authority. We must make sure that it works that way. So I will give a chance for other panelists to speak, and probably I will come back with another input.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed. That's insightful. Actually, you take me to where I want to focus the discussion on. Let's stay on Ghana. But before that, in a minute, let's listen to this, something I believe John will be very interested in.
Too much. I'm way too hot. I'm too spirited. I'm cool tempered. They say my dance is CEO. My girls are hips, you. I love my soccer. All my ladies taste like sugar. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to London. I'm made in Ghana. You can take me to Lagos, but I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana. I'm made in Ghana.
All right, this is Ghana by Okyeame Kwame, and last 2 years, it was released ahead of the Year of Return. Very fantastic piece of music. Now, I come to you, John. You did mention earlier in your presentation that music is not just for entertainment, it's also for education. I want us to focus on harnessing the benefit of local tourism. How does music place in this discussion? Briefly, please.
Well, thank you very much once again. I think it's very simple. If you look at the issue of music being a very important thing in our lives as human beings, you know, it therefore means that we all have to take a serious look at how we can, if you like, promote it and use it as a tool to help the sustainability of aviation and tourism in Ghana locally. When tourists travel from one place to the other, after visiting sites and coming back to their hotels, having their meals and all that, there is one thing that they will be looking forward to, which will help them have their day made complete. And that is the entertainment aspect, you know, where music and dance come in. I have had opportunity to host some tourists from outside the country many times. And at each point in time, when we have taken them round, showed them sites, and then come back to where they lodge, and they have finished with their dinner, they enjoyed so much of a performance that we provide for them. So when we are talking about how to, you know, create sustainability for our industry, then we have to take a look at this aspect as well, where we complete the tourist satisfaction by giving them a kind of performance, you know. So I think that, and I'm looking forward to an opportunity where with these bigger umbrellas that the GH Aviation and Ministry of Tourism, you know, to engage the local artists or groups in discussions that will, you know, help us arrive at a certain conclusion, which will, like one of the speakers said earlier, you see, we have to partnership, you know. When we partnership, we'll be able to move forward together, because aviation and tourism, you know, cannot lose sight to these groups that we are talking about, the local groups, the performing arts industry in Ghana.
Right.
Now, when you travel from one place to the other, you need to, you know, think about something like that. And if you have the opportunity to witness a performance of this kind, then it sells the culture of the country also to other people, whether locally or internationally, because people who live in Tamale may not know much. Like Mr. Ahmed said, not everybody has even seen the ocean before. You get my point. But by traveling or taking a trip to one of the coastal areas, you're able to see something like that. So I think that if we have the opportunity to a discussion with the bigger umbrellas like the Ghana Tourist Board or Authority and the Aviation, it will help us to think of something that will help to sustain our local industry.
Thank you very much. Since you, together with Mr. Ahmed, have made mention of the Tourism Authority, I take advantage of this time to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Kwesi Agyemang on the call. So do I do for Professor Gavin, who is also on the call, will be leading the session after this. I see in the comment section, Mr. Edward Champon and Christian, you would want to have or ask some questions. Please bear with me. Let me have Richard give his thought on this very important question. Then I'll come to you for your questions, if possible. Richard, I am a business operator in the space, in the aviation and tourism business, tourism space at this point in time. I need to stay viable. It's very important. What would you have to say to me as a business?
Okay, so with respect to airlines, I keep saying that not every airline operator can fly to all these airports that we have in Ghana. Now, the idea that we have airports, we have all these areas, so you have to fly, it's a different model altogether. Every airline has its model, and that is exactly what drives it. Now, we have two main local carriers operating. You ask yourself, why are they not accessing the other secondary airports? Like Ho, like Sunyani, and the other airports. A lot of mix come into play. The length of the runway comes into play. It's a whole mix altogether. So we also need carriers that will also take advantage, having a value proposition that we will identify ourselves to be niche carriers operating to the secondary airports, not necessarily bringing in the bigger gauge aircraft to operate to Kumasi, Tamale, but who is there? Sunyani is there, Wa is there. I know there is an airstrip in Navrongo. Like the document I said, we have close to 35 airstrips across the country. So the moment we have other investors coming up, operating to this very secondary airports as niche group, it becomes a different game altogether. And that opens up the economies of this country. And that opens up the tourist, accessibility, in the country. And it's very, very important. So we would like to see a time whereby a carrier will come in and the focus is not only on the traditional Accra, Kumasi, Accra, Tamale, Accra, Kokrade, but also focusing on these small airports to open up the markets.
Thank you very much. Let's focus on the smaller markets, smaller spots, smaller joints, smaller airports, and so on, so that we can open up the market. Thank you, Richard. At this point, I would want to say our time is up, but we need to have the questions from the floor, after which we can officially hand over. Mr. Champon, if you can hear me. Mr. Champon, well, or alternatively, you could drop your question in the chat box and I will read to your hearing. Okay. Christian, if you can hear me, you would want to unmute your mic. Okay, Christian, you have the floor, please.
Right. I just interested in the Mr. Ahmed thing that he said about the accessibility. I myself, I'm an artist based here in Australia. But looking at the accessibility, traveling around Ghana is really difficult. It's really, really difficult. And what he said is very important. We should look at those things and, do something about it and the safety. And to Mr. Zie, as I said, I'm an artist, I play drum. When you come to this aspect in our own country, we don't try to cherish what we got in there, because I quite remember, you know, playing drums and the other things. People see you as different thing, but you know, you could imagine even you know, the school systems in Ghana there, even doing the drumming and dancing there, you know, they see you different. But I am saying here today, after living in Australia nearly 9 years, I've been teaching in school, same thing I've been doing here in school. They hold this our culture very important, that what we got over there. And sometimes when I look at this, it makes me sad. So we, the artists, they have to get out from the country before we can be respected. But we got all this right in our own hand, but we don't cherish them. So with this conversation, I'm really, really interested in what Mr. Zia said. It would be very good to share what we got in there rather than looking outside of something. We got everything there. If I come back to Ghana right now, people see me as, you know, like, oh, this guy's a drummer. Yes, I'm a drummer, but when I come back to Australia, I teach in universities, I teach in I run workshops everywhere I go. So my last question I want to ask is, you know, could the government put some certain thing there for the artists, you know, funding, you know, schools, funding some art thing for the schools to be able to you know, get the artists in to come and teach our own culture? Is the government responsibility to do that? Here in Australia, the government fund the school so that the school could be able to afford to get the artists to the school. So, I mean, all these things we can do it. So these are some of my little things. There's more there, but I don't think I need to take too much of your time. So, I mean, take this thing and take it out there, see how we can do it. I mean, I'm happy to.
Thank you very much. If I understood what you said, that you're talking about placing value on what we have. And as you said, the government, but my question to you is, who is the government? Government is you and I, so to say. And that's why I give thumbs up to Aviator for what they are doing. One way or the other, we are all contributing and making a contribution to the progress of what we want this particular industry to become. Gentlemen, I want to say a very big thank you for your time, because our time is up. And I know that this is not going to be the end of the engagement, not necessarily on this call. After this session, I know others are going to continue, and I know we're going to also engage on the personal level to make the conversations relevant and more succinct, so to say. So thank you once again, Richard. Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you, John. And thank you, Kwame. Over to you, Mr. MC.
Okay. Mr. Moderator, before you fall off, we have some questions in the Q&A box.
Okay.
Yes. Someone is asking, what is the cure for avoiding the myth and perception 2020 that the job opportunity is based on merit-based than family and friends? I think we'll handle that in another session. And then Richard Tre, please, when is Ghana implementing and operationalizing airline fleet like Emirates? The wait is not acceptable.
Well, I think this is public information. The ministry has made it clear to us that they are going ahead to implement a home-based carrier which will serve the needs of Ghanaians, and Ghana will be projected, and that is the starting goal. As to when it's going to be operationalized, that is unknown, but we know the Ministry of Aviation, led by Honorable Joseph Kofi Adda, is working very hard to bring this into a reality, and we believe very soon we will have a very positive news and a way forward to this. So yes, national carrier is good, home-based carrier is good for the country, and that will actually serve a social need, and we will be able to ensure that our travel public and also our Ghanaians and other tourists within various groups will be able to have accessibility within our various networks successfully.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. MC.
Mr. Edudjemfi, yourself and your team Thank you very much for the education, for the discussion, the insight. You've given us an opportunity and spared us monies that could have been spent educating ourselves, and giving us this education for free. We have entered into a pragmatic discussion on how best we can handle the aviation and tourism challenges that we are facing in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen,